Heyo everybody, Haku here with my read-through for the first part of Magical Girl Raising Project, or Mahou Shoujo Ikusei Keikaku Limited, Chapter 6, the beginning of the end. That sounds ominous as hell. But yeah, today, I was planning to get so much more done in the previous few days and today, yeah, I wanted to record the Haku and A, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't get, happy or hyped up enough to do it, I guess. So I wanted to at least do something, but I feel like I can do the read-through and all that. So, yeah, this one I searched around like I usually do around midway through to see, if there are any character breaks or page breaks or whatever. And there are two character breaks, one's at page 19, one's at page 21. So for the first part of this, I'd like to get to page 21, but I know that's not always possible. So if we get to page 19, that's still pretty good. That's still half the chapter. And I will be doing the second half kind of as soon as possible. Probably, I would guess, with the amount of other videos I need to do, probably around Thursday or Friday. It could be this weekend, but I don't think it'll be that long. It'll probably be Thursday or Friday. Last week I was just kind of busy and things were a mess, so or the week before last rather, so that's why I had to do one on Tuesday and then the second part just all the way the next Tuesday. So yeah, it was just too much to do 2 read-throughs in a week there. So sorry about that, but yeah, back to normal now with 2 a week. So let's go ahead and read the first part, I guess. What happened at the end of last one was that the fighting had kind of ended. We had that scene with, who was it, with Mana and nanako-san. Then Ripple showed up with Kurukuru Hime, who may be the first on the trader bandwagon. But we'll see how things ended up that way, because it looks like we're starting with Wedden saying Miss Himeno. But either way, I just clicked on Chapter 6, beginning of the end. Wedden, time remaining 17 hours 35 minutes. So we were at 17 hours 41 minutes when they were fighting earlier, so it's been a couple minutes since then. Miss Himeno, can you hear me? Miss Himeno. Kurukuru Hime had detransformed. She'd returned to her human form, Miss Himeno, collapsed on the ground, not responding to Wedden's calls. Her chest was moving up and down, she was breathing, but she's completely lost consciousness. It was unlikely that they'd be able to get out of the situation through their cooperation. Wedden focused her strength on her arms and legs. She held her breath until her face became hot, focusing her entire power on cutting these ropes that were tying her down. She continued to pull until she was almost out of oxygen, but as expected, the rope didn't loosen at all. But she still tried again and again. All she could do now was roll on the floor. Even though Rabbit Ears isn't here, Wedden still couldn't take advantage of any opportunities. Wedden understood that Rabbit Ears did something to Kurukuru Hime, she just didn't understand what she did. Despite Kurukuru Hime capturing her opponent completely in ribbons, she fell down after Rabbit Ears let out a groan, detransforming and returning back to Miss Himeno. The ribbons, which were a part of her costume, also disappeared at the same time. Now unrestrained, Rabbit Ears stood up, thanks to the ninja crucifying her. Wedden was compromised. Wedden could see that her plan had failed, so she began to speak. And yeah, that's how Kurukuru Hime got taken out, is that Hana increased her ability, or her her sense of sound. I don't know why I was like, ability, what am I thinking here? Her sense of sound was, or sense of hearing rather, was increased, and then she yelled, which made Kurukuru Hime obviously, I mean, it obviously hurt her from the sound-based attack. I was gonna say it can't really bust her eardrums necessarily or do any physical damage, it's more perceived damage, I guess. Right, well, let's just not have violence, shall we? Don't worry, I'm not here to hurt you. Rabbit Ears took out some ropes from her sleeves and used it to bind Wedden's legs and arms, pulling out the kunai that'd been keeping Wedden in place one by one. The kunai that Wedden's power couldn't break began to shake as Rabbit Ears started to pull it off. Soon, it'll come off. So, you're not here to hurt us? We're not here to hurt, we're trying not to hurt you as much as we can. You're not exactly doing a good job about it. Rabbit Ears pulled all the kunai from Wedden, completely tying her up and rolling her around. Now, she tied up Miss Himeno. She saw it She saw it standing behind her. Wedden tried to move her hands and feet, but the rope was binding her too tightly. Not even a magical girl's strength could cut it apart. Rabbit Ears lightly looked back, confirming that Wedden was still tied up. Then she got back to work. That rope's a magical rope made by the head of our investigation team. Hard to break, isn't it? Then could you loosen it a little? Then I won't have to squirm so much. You look like the kind of person that other people shouldn't be careless about. That's not true. I'm a woman of character. Sure, that's why you distracted me by talking so much. Rabbit Ears, Wedden is like my favorite. I can't think of a character this arc I like more than Wedden right now. There are other ones that I find very funny, like I find Pithy and Pukin hilarious, but I think when it comes to like actually being a favorite, it might be Wedden. Or it's probably Wedden. There was another character that I really I like Kurihime, I guess. I like Mana a lot. That's the one I was thinking of. But yeah, my favorite's gotta be Wedden. Okay, hold on, where was I? Rabbit Ears held up Miss Himeno with her right hand, and on her left hand she carried Wedden upside down by her feet. Hey, at least don't carry me upside down. Since you've already deceived me once, I've decided I'm not going to agree to your suggestions. I won't ask much of you either, okay? Shouldn't be hard to understand what happened to this girl, right? Regrettably, Rabbit Ears wasn't wrong. Wedden tried to trick her with her words. If luck was on her side, one of her sentences might have worked. But Rabbit Ears listened to none of them, carrying Wedden and Kurihime. The human police will be here soon, she said as she jumped from rooftop to rooftop. It seemed Rabbit Ears was intending to join up with someone. While jumping from house rooftops to telephone poles, from building to building, they saw a broken-down van and a destroyed piece of the road. Furthermore, the streetlights were shining on a minivan parked on the road. The residents of the surrounding area were all gathered around it. Rabbit Ears looked down from the rooftop at the commotion below. With a facial expression that was like burnt lead, she took out her magical phone trying to call somewhere, but whoever she was calling wasn't picking up. Rabbit Ears' expression further stiffened. Maybe the signal's bad. They're probably at the emergency meet-up point by now, she muttered to herself, moving to the edge of the roof and trying to call them again. So I wonder if somebody has an ability to block their magical phone signals or something, because it's weird that she was trying to call them and they were trying to call her and it didn't work for either one. Either way, continuing on, it'll probably get, knowing my luck, it'll probably get explained, like, immediately. Okay, it didn't work, thought Wedden. Rabbit Ears was obviously upset. She wasn't monitoring Wedden. If she could secretly untie these troublesome ropes, she could probably escape. At least that's what she thought, as she wriggled and squirmed as Miss Himeno lay unconscious next to her. But everything failed. Wedden's power wasn't enough to loosen the ropes. She felt the coldness of the concrete on her back gnawing to her bones. Is strength all that mattered in this world? Rabbit Ears was still busy with her magical phone. Even a powerful magical girl like her still had trouble with it. Wedden breathed out a calm sigh. Wedden, you are exhausted. There was a sudden voice, and instinctively Wedden wanted to let out a loud noise, but she managed to grit her teeth. Tepsukeme was looking down on Wedden, floating with an airy posture. Wedden hurriedly spoke to her. Where have you been? There was an enemy. Sime had to fight. She was powerful. Did you beat her? That's impossible. She was too strong. So you escaped. Well, that doesn't matter for now. More importantly, could you untie this rope? My strength isn't enough to do it. It has already been cut. Wedden's rope and that other person's rope over there, too. Wedden moved her arms. The rope fell down. It's like it's been cut with a sharp blade. Nice. We could probably escape now. No. Tepsukeme wasn't looking at Wedden. She was looking at another direction entirely. Wedden turned her head to where Tepsukeme was facing, and there, with a magical phone in her hand, her eyes met with Rabbit Ears. Wedden got up and jumped off the building. She heard the footsteps of Rabbit Ears running behind her. She was frighteningly fast. Her speed was quite different. At this rate, she won't be able to do anything. Would she have to surrender again, or would Tepsukeme have to fight alongside her? Tepsukeme was flying beside Wedden. There was still plenty of room. Wedden, slow. Everyone has their own capabilities. May will help because Wedden is slow. Tepsukeme grabbed the nape of Wedden's neck as she was running, pulling it upwards, then wrapping her arms around it. This way we will be faster. She felt her speed rising. Still behind her, Rabbit Ears was determined not to lose them. She persistently followed them, past an agricultural warehouse, past a parking lot, to a large bookstore, past the back of a pachinko parlor, sharply turning angles through the alleyways. They were trying to lose her, but she somehow kept chasing after them. Should we fight? No, don't fight, just run. I think I might have got those two confused. Should we fight may have been May. Either way. Even with multiple people, including Tepsukeme, Rabbit Ears was easily able to fight them off before. If it's just Wedden and Tepsukeme, they'd be quickly overwhelmed. Not to mention, she still has no idea how Rabbit Ears defeated Kurukuru Hime. Tepsukeme's speed didn't let up, but neither did Rabbit Ears. Tepsukeme, jump off the ground. If you can fly, she can't chase us. Impossible. What's wrong? Wedden is too heavy. On second thought, keep those thoughts to yourself. And now we're jumping to Kurukuru Hime with 17 hours and 21 minutes remaining, so this is a full 14 minutes later. The last thing she remembered before she fell unconscious was a mysterious thing happening to her body when she got close to Rabbit Ears. She was in the rooftop of her apartment on the rooftop of her apartment that time. When she regained her consciousness... Yeah, sorry, I was just looking back over that sentence. When she regained her consciousness, she noticed she was laying down a different building's rooftop, and neither Wedden nor Rabbit Ears were here. Moreover, she wasn't Kurukuru Hime anymore. She was back in human form as Nozomi Himeno, so she shivered as she felt the cold air under the sky. She had no idea what was happening, but for now, she thought that she had to run. Everything was frightening. Nozomi transformed into Kurukuru Hime. She started by leaving this place. She jumped off the body of a car parked on the berm of the road, following the electric wires. From utility pole to utility pole to the Chamber of Commerce building. From the buildings, she ran to the shopping district's arcade. After a turn on the road, she jumped at high speed toward an agricultural building, stretching out her ribbons and hooking the rim of the roof. From there, she saw a combine harvesting weeds as she ran through. She ran through the paths taken by animals, not roads taken by any humans. Like Tarzan, she used her ribbons to swing across the trees, until finally her face hit an invisible wall in the middle of the mountains as she fell to the ground. While she brushed over the dead leaves, she rolled on the ground, feeling faint. It wasn't just the shock of the impact. Her entire body felt horrible, as if her brain had directly been stirred, and she was unable to move her arms and legs, let alone stand. Okay, so the barrier, she just kind of slammed into it, kind of George of the Jungle style, but I thought that you could pass through it. It just made you deathly sick to pass through it, and that's why you shouldn't, because it'll kill you. I didn't think it would legitimately just stop you in your path like that, because I thought earlier when Nanako-san tried it, she was able to walk a step and then get super sick and have to fall back out of it. So I didn't think it was like an actual physical barrier that you could hit. So that's weird. But either way, I guess I'll just keep reading. It wasn't the shock of the impact. Her entire body felt horrible, as if her brain had been directly stirred. She was unable to move her arms and legs, let alone stand. Okay, I already read that. That's right. Toko said something about this. There's a barrier surrounding this city. Was this the barrier she was talking about? She squatted as she held down her nose, using one of the leaves to wipe out her nosebleed. She continued running off, her legs still able to get the timing right. She couldn't run at full power in case she hit that wall. She thought she'd just get even more damage otherwise. And also, she was comforted by the fact she couldn't run away from the city. Once more she was horrified. Or confronted by the fact. Okay, what I'm thinking is, how does she end up with Ripple of all people? She's just ran way out in the woods. And Ripple should probably be heading back to where the van went. But either way. She made an instant chair with her ribbons on the base of an oak tree. She sat on it and got on the tree. Her heartbeat had slowed down, and the pain on her nose had calmed as well, and her fear had also subsided. Something felt weird. When she's a magical girl, she was able to fight without question, using her mysterious magic and superhuman strength. She was naturally able to bind and tangle up her opponents. When she returned back to human, she thought to herself how she was able to do these mysterious things as if they were nothing. If she lost, then she didn't know what would happen to her. The thought of death floated in her head as she embraced her trembling body with both her arms. It wasn't that she was just cold. Her trembling didn't stop. She felt malice and murderous intent. She felt a vivid sharpness that a magical girl shouldn't have. She couldn't think of going back. As a teacher, she had to confirm that all her students had escaped. Only then she can finally run away. Okay. That was the ideal situation, but it had been crushed by overwhelming violence. Even though she understood the miserable state she was in now, she couldn't move. Whether it was fear or something else, she didn't know, but she can finally think carefully after running all the way here. And yet she still didn't think of going back. At least she thought about their safety. Toko, Wedden, Grace, Funny Trick, Tepsikemme, Rainbow, Posterie. She tried to contact them, but she couldn't reach them at all. That's fine. She sent a text telling them that they should meet up somewhere as she placed her magical phone back in her pocket. Calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down. Once again, she took out her magical phone, and she checked the time display. It's already late at night. There were probably still students around that couldn't go back home. She gritted her teeth and tightened her fist. The ribbon chair was vibrating. She checked her last messages. No one's replied to her. The leaves of the tree began to shake. Kurukuru Hime felt frightened like a hunted animal. As a magical girl, her sensitive hearing made her react to the small noises of rustling leaves. It was different from when Nozomi was dozing off in the staff room while the brass club was practicing their instruments. She looked toward whatever made the sound. When she thought it was just nothing but her cowardice, she smiled and sat back again. But then, her own expectations betrayed her. In the shade of the tree there was a female ninja whose eye and arm were missing. The breeze of the winter flowed the scarf that obscured her mouth. The eye that was doing just fine was staring at Kurukuru Hime. No matter how you look at it, this was a magical girl. But it was someone that Kurukuru Hime didn't know, meaning this was one of Rabbit Ear's allies. Kurukuru Hime undid her ribbon chair, kicking away the leaves, and started to run. Not even 1 second, she hit the wall once again. This time, not just her nose, but her teeth slammed into it too. She felt like her brain was being turned over. Her nose, teeth, and lips hurt, but not as much as before. She held her face with her right hand and tried to lift her body with her left elbow, but she stopped moving when she tried to get up. The ninja was already in sight, standing on her left. She was looking down at Kurukuru Hime. She crouched down, extending her hand, getting Kurukuru Hime on her feet and patting away the leaves stuck on her back. Even though, they could just probably tell them, hey, we're investigators, we're detectives, and it might kind of... Everyone except for Toko and Rainbow would probably have second thoughts about fighting them. It's kind of an easy solution there. But whatever, move along. I mean, some of them probably wouldn't believe him. Like Captain Grace seems like the whole maybe skeptical type. But either way, patting away the leaves stuck on her back. Even though Kurukuru Hime could continue escaping, she stood still without running away. Kurukuru Hime didn't think of escaping from the ninja who didn't do anything but offer her a hand. Should she use her ribbons? She didn't think she could win with her own reflexes and agility. If she tried to outwit her, it's likely that she'll be the one who would be beaten first. Both sides were silent, with no movement, staring silently at each other from a distance. The one who opened her mouth to break the silence first was Kurukuru Hime. And now we get a illustration of Kurukuru Hime after slamming her head and face against the wall. This is cute. I like the artwork for this one. And Ripple looks so cool with the missing eye. Okay. How did you know where I was? I saw you running, so I followed you. Thanks to her scarf covering her mouth, she was a bit muffled, though she had a beautiful voice. Her tone, however, bogged it down. It was rather dark in spirit. So you followed me? Yeah. Why? Should I have called out to you instead? Sorry, I didn't know. Her question was replied with a stupid question. The image of a ninja passing back and forth with the image of a magical girl. It wasn't a good overlap. No, wait. If the ninja's question was a stupidly obvious question, then Kurukuru Hime's question was rather stupid as well. Whether or not she was in a situation to ask questions, if her opponent was asking a question, then she'd have to ask back. You people, why'd you come here? Why are you trying to catch Toko? The ninja pulled her chin deeper into her scarf, her line of sight turning to the roots of the oak tree. She was back to her silent self, probably thinking it was a question she couldn't answer. But apparently, she didn't feel like not answering. Instead, she seems to have thought of something. The reason we came here is because we're trying to catch a criminal. A criminal? So are you policemen? Some of us. I'm just a volunteer. Volunteer? I just came for a job interview, and then I got caught up in all this. Then shouldn't you refuse? If I refuse, I won't get the job. I love Ripple so much. So she wanted to advance her career. Kurukuru Hime felt a sense of affinity with the ninja, a sense of sympathy. Are we best friends now? Knowing that she had a worldly desire, the ninja seemed more human to her, but the way she could swing her sword expressionlessly means she was an automatic fighting machine. The conversation with this unnatural stance continued. Ripple and her allies were from a different world called the Land of Magic, and they were trying to catch an assassin who had killed someone from there. She told her that Toko was involved with that assassin. Kurukuru Hime told her about her current circumstances. As she truthfully told her everything from the start towards now, all her hesitation vanished. Since Toko took her students as hostages, she could never trust her, and a sense of affinity came to Ripple. Even if they were to wait here, it was a stalemate. She told her students to run to a safe location, and while Ripple and Kurukuru Hime were in an unnatural posture, they shook hands. Ripple's hands were cold, but pleasant. And now we're switching to Postery, and we're jumping back to 26 minutes, which was 5 minutes before that, before the Kurukuru Hime stuff, I think. Sorry, it's hard to remember the exact minutes. So, Postery. Let me get a sip of tea, actually. I feel like my voice is really, really hoarse and raspy. And I'm, like, trying really, really hard to speak up, but it's still, like, it's like a whisper coming out almost. I have no clue why my voice is so gone. But maybe it was best, if my voice is kind of gone, to record something kind of chill like a read-through, you know? But either way. She called Wedden, Grace, Funny Trick, and even Tepsukeme, but none of the calls... See, none of the calls went through for her either. It's really weird. It's not that it didn't connect, but she heard a harsh static noise from the other side. She couldn't even hear the connecting tone. Not just Postery's magical phone, Rainbow's phone was also unusable. She tried calling their home numbers, but the same phenomenon occurred. Even if they weren't contacting magical phones, it still wouldn't work. Even if they asked Toko, she only replied with, "I have no idea what's happening. This fairy hasn't been useful at all." As they fought off that black thing, for now they'd left the area. Okay. They confirmed that no one was chasing them. A feeling of relief and fear simultaneously arose, and Postery sank down on the ground. The enemy had attacked them, the ninja throwing shuriken, running across the rainbow bridge, escaping by clinging on a flying van. Although everything was a considerably frightening experience, when she dealt with the black creature earlier, Postery's heart had reached its critical point. Although tears began to flow as she wrapped both arms around her legs, Rainbow stroked her in the back, making her feel comfortable again. The warmth of her palm on her back, she was thankful to be able to depend on that. Postery and Rainbow sat side by side by a block fence, and Toko, who came out from Rainbow's chest pocket, joined up with them to discuss what happened. There was no conclusion. They understood up to the point that their enemies came, but other than that, they didn't understand a thing. They didn't know who they were up against in the first place. For Postery, it was important for her to never get involved in this kind of thing again, so she had no regrets even if she'd lose the ability to become a magical girl. Rainbow was different. She insisted on a solution that would permanently keep them as magical girls, and Toko naturally supported that. I mean, it's such a waste to throw it away. Look how strong we've become and how amazing our powers are. And we're magical girls, right? We can't just go back to a normal life. Yeah, you're right. What she said. She understood how valuable this mysterious power was, but her life was also precious as well. Compared to humans, she was strong, but in the end, that was relative. When compared to other magical girls, Postery's strength wasn't that big. That's been proven time and time until now. Rather than fighting dangerous opponents half-heartedly with her powers, she'd prefer to live an ordinary life as a human again. She's never complained about her life before. Although, in terms of the current situation, Postery had no bright ideas. If anyone decided to help them, they were to go against those guys. She felt like those people could take on not just the police, but the army as well, and could easily fight through tanks and fighter aircrafts. Rainbow didn't just say how useless the police would be in this situation, but she also expressed distaste at the idea of revealing her real identity. She wanted to continue being a magical girl, so if she revealed herself, it'll all be for nothing. She refused any intervention from society. Naturally, Toko also supported that. Hey, Tachan, we'll get through this. Don't give up, okay? That's right. I won't accept any quitters under my watch. Completely unacceptable. When Toko added that last part, that just spun Posteri's feelings back to square one. Posteri mainly talked with Rainbow. She allowed Toko to speak, but she never really paid attention to her. Oh god. Sorry. I just find Toko funny. The way she's just so angry and bossy and everyone just ignores her. Posteri and Rainbow's discussion was close to an argument. Their values weren't likely to be compromised, and none of them were likely to agree with the other's theories. Furthermore, neither of them had a solution. Normally they'd consult with each other, and since they became friends, this was the first time they had an argument. Posteri couldn't think of anything other than Rainbow's rash recklessness. She even considered running off on her own, though that was just a thought. Whenever she felt like actually doing so, she resisted. Kaori's expression would turn to that of happiness and laughter, and she'd remember the first time she went to the arcade with her, the warmth of her palm on her back. Even if Posteri ran away, she couldn't chase her off. Until she became best friends with Kaori, Posteri, Tatsuko, had never really known friendship for over 10 years. For a long time, she's wanted to have friends more than anyone else, but she knew from the first time she tried to make friends, it was like she was cursed. Posteri shrugged her shoulders. She wanted to accept Rainbow's aggressiveness, but it's not like she could part ways with her. Something was happening, but she didn't know what. The three people who have become isolated and couldn't contact anyone. Let's head back to the apartment, suggested Rainbow. It goes without saying that they didn't return as magical girls. They detransformed, returning in their human forms. They checked on what was going on at the apartment. There were probably police cars and ambulances there, and fire trucks were also coming. Local news companies and maybe even the national press arrived as well. There was no reason to not have curious bystanders, and their numbers weren't small. In this countryside, entertainment and accidents weren't frequent. Even if it happened in the dead of the night, it'd be somewhere where a lot of people would be gathered. If there were a lot of people, it'd be easy to blend in. If they didn't transform to magical girls, Posteri and Rainbow would have their faces in the crowd, undetected by their enemies. But if their friends had been caught, and if they were ordered to tell the real identities of your allies, then if they actually told their enemies, Posteri and Rainbow could still be caught. But if that were so, their enemies wouldn't be far. Thinking pessimistic thoughts like that would be bad for her stomach and her heart. A human's internal organs weren't as strong as a magical girl's. Surely a human spirit was also not as strong. The three of them aimed for the alley where the van had fallen. Sure enough, it was closed off by traffic. There were loads of bystanders, and several police cars were parked there. They turned around calmly and passed them by, making the faces of harmless middle school students. At their apartment, the crowd was even bigger, and there were more police cars, ambulances, and fire trucks were coming. Their sirens piercing through the sky, echoing in the streets, their red lights asserting themselves in the night sky continuously. There were many bystanders. Some were in sleepwear and some weren't. Several news reporters with cameras and mics also arrived. Since the area had been taped as a police-only zone, it was hard to see what was going on inside. An old man with a down jacket faced the mic and spoke. A car flew in the sky. I saw it. There was no mistaking it. He kept on spitting out. They were listening to the rumors of the bystanders. There seemed to be people who saw the flying car. Someone saw a rainbow even though it was late at night. And for some reason someone saw a pirate ship. And someone said there was a girl who shot a rocket launcher? No, not a rocket launcher, a tank cannon. Someone said that a weird cosplay group was fighting in the middle of the road. Were any of these related at all? Still, in a place like this, it didn't look like there was anyone who would capture them. They wouldn't want to make such a huge scene here. Tatsuko looked at Kaori. Kaori looked back at Tatsuko. Her eyelashes were trembling. Her eyes seemed sore. Her face and lips had turned pale. No one had been caught, meaning there was no one left here. Yet for some reason they couldn't contact them, so where did everyone go to? An unpleasant thought appeared on her mind, then quickly disappeared. They realized they were both sending each other worried looks. They dipped their knit caps and pulled on their coats and tightened their scarves. Kaori bumped into one of the bystanders, a middle-aged employee man. "Watch it," he said. Tatsuko pulled Kaori's sleeves and got her out of the way. "It'll be okay. The other girls, Miss Himeno and Mei, they're all pretty strong." Well, she heard that in a small voice. Tatsuko thought it sounded good to her. They're probably just hiding somewhere. It was an obvious lie. Hiding out somewhere. Not even they thought of something like that. She held Kaori's hands as they left the scene. They sat side by side at a children's park bench, looking up at the sky. The clouds were thick and dark, and went on and on forever. It wasn't going to be sunny. There was no one except for these two at the park. The brick path illuminated by the street light was filled with many cracks. The playground equipment was rusted, blown away by the wind. It was the same everywhere in this city. She sighed. They were cornered. "Okay. Are you two magical girls?" Suddenly she heard a voice. She had to process those words in her mind, since she was in a hurry to turn around. Her legs fell down, but she managed to balance herself by holding on to the bench's armrest. At the entrance of the park, a magical girl was standing. She had a long dress coat and a khaki-colored scarf with an odd length. She had a Panama cap and sunglasses, making her look suspicious. As a magical girl, costume was kind of clunky, but her face and atmosphere was clearly that of a magical girl. She also said magical girl herself. Who? Wait, hold on. Whose description is this? Long dress cloth, khaki scarf, Panama cap and sunglasses. I don't know whose design that is. That doesn't remind me of any of the designs from this arc. Unless I'm forgetting something. It shouldn't be any of Pithy's group unless that's one of their disguises, though. It could be a disguise, never mind. We'll have to see. I'll keep reading on. It'll probably be revealed immediately, again, knowing my normal read-throughs. Looking to the side, Kaori was preparing herself for other magical girls. Her expression didn't hide her vigilance. The magical girl lowered her eyebrows and raised her chin. With that expression, Tatsuko heard a small that the magical girl had sighed under her breath. She realized that the magical girl was disappointed. "Well, what is it then?" The magical girl casually approached them while raising her hand. Both Kaori and Tatsuko's cheeks were pulled. She felt like she'd been swept off by an attack, but the magical girl wasn't even attacking them in the first place. Yet, the heat and pain was still felt in their cheeks. Tatsuko stared back at the magical girl dumbfounded. "You two aren't transformed right now. I should be scolding you for de-transforming in the middle of a battlefield. But it doesn't matter. You de-transformed in order to blend in with the other humans, correct? But in that case..." Now, she stretched her other cheek. Soon both her cheeks were hurt painfully. "What will you do if a magical girl with questionable actions came to you? She's publicly announced herself as the magical girl as well, right? If your enemy's transformed and you haven't, and she says, 'I'm a magical girl,' what will you do? In this situation, it'll be impossible to survive on the battlefield. You'll be killed as quickly as a worm." The magical girl stared at her. It wasn't a glaring look, but it wasn't a favorable gaze either. Not being able to judge what to do, Tatsuko softly smiled as a fist swung down on the top of her head. Sparks scattered in front of her eyes. "Just what do you think you're doing? Do you think you're in a position to raise complaints?" Kaori's rebelliousness was suppressed with a slap on her face. Looking at Kaori, who fell on the bench, Tatsuko kept her mouth shut. "Be on your guard," ordered the magical girl as Tatsuko stood upright. The magical girl looked at Tatsuko, then Kaori, whose shoulders were shaking the bench. She kicked Kaori's thighs. "Why are you laying down? If I tell you to be on your guard, at least sit up straight." Isn't it her fault that Kaori's lying down? She thought so, but she didn't say it out loud. Kaori forcibly pulled herself up, half crying. Tatsuko didn't feel like rebelling. The suspicious magical girl talked with enthusiasm about how dangerous it was for a human to face a magical girl. Though it didn't look like she was going to kill them, Tatsuko never knew when her hand would suddenly slap them, and so the tension continued. Toko was completely silent in Rainbow's clothes, as if she wasn't even there. That was probably the right thing to do. Your opponent is transformed into a magical girl. You haven't transformed, and then they challenge you by saying, "Are you a magical girl?" How are you supposed to treat this oddball of a person? Rather than the suicidal behavior of staying as human, surely any other action is better. Even though it's beyond my expectations to stay as a human, I imagine it won't be enough just to think about transforming. For a human, from the time they think let's transform until the time they actually transform, do you realize how long that would take? With the magical girl's reflexes, they'd be able to kill you 100 times over before you even finished. Do you understand how foolish it is to not be transformed from the start as a magical girl? If you do, then transform. She was thinking about what she was told, but before she knew it, her cheeks were pulled again, tears streamed down. Transform! If I say something, I expect it to be done immediately. She transformed in a hurry, but her cheeks were still being pulled. Were you not listening to my transformation speech earlier? Well, you know, with your attitude earlier, it was really hard for us to focus, and don't talk back. Once again, Rainbow fell to the bench. Why won't she learn, thought Posterie as she hated herself for getting used to these unreasonable demands. The magical girl stared at Posterie and Rainbow carefully. She seemed to be judging them. In the end, she sighed as if she'd become frustrated. Of course, it didn't show on her face. It's clear you understand, but you're still amateurs. You're local middle schoolers? Yes. And Toko transformed you into magical girls? Yes. So Toko's deceived you, hasn't she? Posterie couldn't answer this question immediately. She never thought that she was being deceived, but somehow she couldn't say that she hadn't been deceived. She stared at Rainbow's chest, but there was no reaction from there. A calm wind blew across Posterie, and the magical girl sighed again. She took out her magical phone, pressed a few buttons, and frowned as she pressed it on her ear. Sorry, let me get a sip of this water. Okay, hang on a sec. No connection? We also couldn't call anyone earlier. The magical girl replied by slapping her. Can't contact our leader like this, she muttered under her breath. She turned around to Posterie and Rainbow. My name is Malpom. I came to this city to detain a murderer lurking somewhere. Toko is her accomplice, and you two are magical girls who've been deceived by her. Your names? Posterie, Rainbow. Okay, so this is Malpom, again scolding them, trying to teach them, but she doesn't know that the assassin is probably Rainbow, and that she probably just kicked the assassin's ass around a little bit. So this is dangerous territory, kind of. Unless it's not Rainbow, but it seems like it is, from what we know so far. Posterie and Rainbow, you two have an opportunity. If you were to cooperate with me, I'll absolve you of your sins. If you agree, I'll have a talk with my higher-ups. And if you don't, then that's up to you. I can guarantee you safety under my name as Malpom. As she was trying to rapidly gather information, another slap. Answer. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Excellent. A good start for amateurs. Well then. Malpom moved her eyes to the entrance of the park. Posterie and Rainbow also looked toward the park entrance. And of course this is why Toko knew to be quiet. She could probably tell it was Malpom. Rainbow also looked toward the park entrance. A small girl in pajamas was staring at the three magical girls. Malpom slowly relaxed her stiff expression and waved her hand at the girl. Oh, sorry about that. We'll be leaving soon, okay? With a gentle smile, Malpom seemed different to how she was before, as if she'd completely changed to a different person. Posterie looked at Malpom. What is with this woman? But because Malpom looked back, Posterie panicked and looked away. Is something wrong? Since Rainbow blurted out a laugh, she was beaten again. Whether before or after detransformation, the pain she felt was the same, which means Malpom was controlling her punches. What is with this woman? Okay, I think I'm going to try to read until page 21 at least. Let me get some more. And then I'm going to stop, not because I don't have time or whatever, because I feel like we're doing pretty okay on time, but I'm going to stop at page 21 because I am really struggling to talk now. My voice is like really gone. And my throat hurts really badly. But I at least want to read through this Captain Grace section since this is not that long anyway. But Captain Grace, 17 hours, 59 minutes, wow, jumping way back with this one. The hammer that she gave to Posterie flew towards her, so she knew that they were fighting off some enemies. She had to help them, thought Captain Grace enthusiastically, as she ran to the direction where the hammer was flying. She ran through the shopping district's arcade, moving from the roof of the bank to the residential area's rooftops. The two of them stopped at the roof of an old house. They found neither their allies nor their enemies. Captain Grace took out her magical phone. Once more she rechecked that she couldn't use it as she threw it down. Her magical phone rolled off the roof and stopped at the rain gutters below. She couldn't contact anyone, she couldn't use her magical phone. She wanted to break her smartphone, but that won't mean anything at all. Besides, she couldn't repair it here. Funny Trick picked up the magical phone that Grace threw. You know, if our magical phones don't work, why don't we try calling their actual phones instead? Kaio, do you know anyone's phone numbers? Well, then why don't we go check their houses? I don't know their addresses, do you? I don't. The apartment was crowded with onlookers and police. Neither their enemies nor their allies were here. They went to their school too, but heading to the school late at night only reconfirmed that they were on their own. We should have decided a meeting place if we ever found ourselves in this situation, huh? It's 'cause Wedden's a stupid leader. She can't even do something like this properly. When she defeated the Black Thing, it was an exhilarating experience for her, but afterwards she lost that sense of exhilaration. Now they were searching for their friends that they fought together by, but since they couldn't find them, Grace only became frustrated. What are we to do? Funny Trick sat on the rooftop looking at her. Captain Grace felt bitter. Well, don't just sit around here. Anyone can do that. For now, we gotta join up with them again. Anyone can do that, huh? But if it's possible, I wish people would be reliable. If we meet up with Toko again, I want her to explain what's going on. This was the reason Captain Grace was so frustrated. Funny Trick was anxious. Even now, here, with Captain Grace by her side, her partner and the one person she could rely on more than anyone else, she was still afraid, fearful, trembling in fright. Captain Grace was different. She was a legendary pirate of the Seven Seas, despite being a magical girl that used mysterious powers. Captain Grace always fought constantly, even now. While searching for her friends, she was also desiring more enemies, someone of equal or higher strength than the Black Thing she fought earlier. And then she'll exterminate them. Also, she wanted a rematch with Rabbit Ears, fighting for their lives as magical girls. Now she's leveled up. She won't let Rabbit Ears escape again. Come on, how long are you gonna sit there? Come on, let's try and find him at Teramachi Street. Captain Grace grabbed Funny Trick's arm and began to pull her. Okay, so now we have some shuffling of the decks. I think heading over to the group she headed over to improves the survivability rating of Kurukuru Hime by a lot, and I think Wedden not going over, like even Rainbow and Postery could pretend to be with the investigators for a while, but now Wedden's going to think that they've just been kidnapped, and she's going to be going in to try to get them back, and that puts her at a lot of danger. So basically it's like Captain Grace, Wedden, they're the ones in the real danger. Funny Trick now, May. So I guess that's where we're leaving this one at. Sorry, I would actually like to record a lot longer, but my throat is killing me right now. So I'll go ahead and get this video up as soon as possible, and hopefully I'll start with the Haku and everything else I'm behind on tomorrow. Again, sorry I'm late, and we're going to have plenty of discussion for Magical Girl Raising Project in the Haku, so I would totally recommend watching that if you are watching this read-through. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this chapter, what you thought of my first thoughts and reaction. Again, sorry I wasn't very emotive or loud. I'm trying my best to project, but man, my voice is just totally gone. Like, comment, subscribe for more Magical Girl Raising Project, much more on the channel. Like I said, 2 videos a week from now on. We're back caught up, kind of. And like and subscribe, follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there on stuff for the channel. And if you want a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us there, then just ask and I'll give you a link to that. Anyone's welcome. So that's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.